No longer working under the Trump administration, 6 leading U.S. health officials revealed to CNN the experiences they say they faced during the nation's fight against COVID this past year. Now, joining us to talk about this, former HHS Deputy Chief of Staff Paul Mango. Paul, good morning to you.
Rachel, how you doing?
Doing well. Now, Dr. Deborah Birx has made several strong statements, including her claims that a lot of COVID deaths could have been prevented. Let's take a listen to that real quick.
The first time we have an excuse, there were about 100,000 deaths that came from that original surge. All of the rest of them, in my mind, could have been mitigated or decreased substantially.
That's a bold statement, Paul. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think, Rachel, what we heard last night was a lot of 2020 hindsight. What I wish we had had a year ago from them was a little bit of 2020 foresight. And the implicit message last night was that we have failed, and it's because of President Trump. That couldn't be farther from the truth, and I'll tell you why. Let me give you a couple of statistics. Since this January 20th, okay, let's compare this administration to the previous administration. The average number of cases per day is up 30%. The average number of fatalities per day is up 90%. The 2-week running average of cases as of yesterday is up 15%. So if wearing a mask, if the president wearing a mask, it makes all the difference in the world, it's certainly not working under this administration.
And it's interesting you say that. It's very easy now to look back and say, well, I wish we would have done this. We could have done this. If it weren't for President Trump, we would have done that. Do you think that President Trump will ever get any credit for the way he responded with Operation Warp Speed, let's say?
Well, Rachel, first of all, probably not from the mainstream media. Of course he won't, but he should. And it's not just Operation Warp Speed. They could have talked about a lot of things last night. Let's talk about the Strategic National Stockpile. We now have 160 million N95 masks there. How about ventilators? We have 150,000 ventilators there. You talked about Operation Warp Speed. It's not just the vaccines. It's the number of therapeutics that under President Trump came to the market. It was our testing capacity. We can do 200 million tests a month now. That didn't exist prior to this administration and prior to President Trump being in office. So, you know, Sanjay could have talked about a lot of very positive things, the mobilization of U.S. industry, the unbelievable response to the challenges we had. But no, they have to cast it as a failure, and it's simply not true.
All right, let's switch gears for a bit. We've seen so many mixed reports on the origin of COVID-19. A joint WHO and China study now says that transmission of the virus from bats to humans through another animal is most likely, and that a lab leak is, quote, extremely unlikely. That was the most recent report. Others, such as Robert Redfield, says the very opposite, that coming out over the weekend. What do you make of these latest developments?
Well, Rachel, Dr. Redfield is a very capable immunologist, and I think he has the right hypothesis here. He said he can't yet prove it. He said the science will eventually prove it. But what we know is that China withheld information from us for a long time. What we know is that they're in cahoots with the World Health Organization, and the World Health Organization is not going to reveal that information to us. What we know is the team that just went there a couple of weeks ago spent, what, 3 hours, all of 3 hours in that laboratory, and they were basically told what the Chinese told them. They didn't actually investigate on their own. So I'm highly suspicious of what the World Health Organization is saying, and I actually agree with Dr. Redfield. Let's let the science tell us what really happened, and I think his hypothesis is it came from the lab.
And you mentioned that task force that did go to Wuhan, was supposed to investigate, didn't get to do a lot of that. Do you think we'll ever find out for sure, clear, concrete example of where the virus came from? Will we ever be given that information?
You know, I think we will, Rachel, because with the sophistication of the DNA testing that we have available today, I think we're eventually going to find out. It may take a while, but I think we're going to find out. And I think Dr. Redfield is going to be correct.
Okay, we have about a minute left. Let me ask you, the Biden administration is reportedly working to develop what's being called passports or health certificates that show proof of vaccination. We talked about this, I remember on this show months ago, saying, oh, wouldn't that be crazy if you had to show that to get onto a flight or show your coronavirus vaccine passport to go to a concert? What do you think these will be used for? And do you see them being required?
You know, Rich, I don't think we should require them. I do think we should continue to encourage folks to go and get vaccinated. These are some of the most safe and effective vaccines ever developed. We will have enough to vaccinate all Americans before the end of May or before the end of June. And I think we'll have the type of immunity that the immunologists and the epidemiologists want us to have. I don't understand what role these cards would play at that point. We're only 2 to maximum of 3 months away from having the type of immunity as a herd, so to speak, that the immunologists want. I don't understand what the cards would do for us, to tell you the truth.
What the purpose would be if we're only 2 to 3 months away. Interesting. All right, Paul Mango, all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Rachel.
We still have plenty to come on the show. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.